I've talked before about the fact that the wet wheel is wet so that it keeps the place cool. This is another kind of a grinder here. And this has plain old grinding wheels on it. These are called Cratex wheels. Built-in grit. This one is the rougher one. This one is the smoother one. What I can do is I can use them to touch up those pieces further. In this case, the case of the Thor's hammer, I need to actually drill a hole first. So I'm going to go over to the drilling station and we're going to do that. I think I have a few other pieces that need to be drilled too. If I was working over here for a fairly long period of time, I would turn on the overhead light. But because I'm not, I'm just going to turn on my little guy. And here is my Thor's hammer. If I want to, I can mark the spot where I want that hole to be ahead of time. So I can decide that I'm going to put it right there. And this is called an automatic center punch. It's going to go off like a little, it's a spring-loaded thing, see? And it's going to leave, I probably won't be able to see it with this particular camera, but it's going to leave a little teeny mark on it, right, like that. What that does is that keeps the drill bit from skittering around when you go to actually drill a hole. So if you've ever tried to drill a hole and you've had the drill bit sort of skitter away, well, on a piece of jewelry where you want it to look nice, you don't want that. This is probably going to make a noise because the belt in here is cold, and it doesn't like being cold. That noise is because the belt is cold and it doesn't like it. I think I probably need a new drill bit. It's probably not dull. Yes, it has. It was working fine the other day. Nice, neat little hole. Not completely neat, though. So we're going to need to fix that. I drill holes in pendants. I drill holes in the bottom of Tudor buttons. There we go. There's a button. It's got a mark on it all ready to go. I need to cut the bottoms of these buttons off. This has still got too much pewter on it. So there's a bunch of pendants that need to be drilled like this. What you saw me drip on here was a little bit of cutting oil. This is called Burr Light, but it's actually a type of cutting oil, water soluble. So now that I have a hole in this, I'm going to take it back over to the Cratex wheels in the sanding department. Now obviously when I'm doing production, I don't do one piece at a time. I do like a whole handful. We joke about our Ford factory approach to life. Light goes on, buffing wheel goes on. Going to use, it's got rough spots here where the drill bit went in and where it came out, burrs. So nobody wants that on a necklace. So I'll use this one first. And I'll clean off the big stuff. Okay. And I also may choose while I'm here to do a little bit more in terms of the cleanup, or I may wait until after it's come out of the buffer, the tumbler, to do some. But let me, if I do it by hand here, do it rough and then do it smoother. This is not going to be perfect because it hasn't been tumbled yet. But I think you can see how much shinier that is. Way shinier. Let me bring the light over here a little bit better. Way shinier. You can see this is the unpolished section. This is the polished section. And I've taken off the big burrs that were on here from drilling holes. I can choose to smooth it as much as I want to. This is only going to smooth it so far, but it makes it pretty darn shiny. Like if I take this section here, you can see it's gray, it's matte. Yeah, no, it's not matte anymore. It's pretty shiny. It's not perfect though, so I actually need to do more to this to make it really shiny. But like I can feel some burrs here, so I might decide to take that off before I put it into the tumbler. It's always a matter of deciding what order you're doing things in, what works for you under your current workflow. Yeah, that's much better. Now this will now go, turn everything off here. This will now go in here. This is a rotary tumbler right here. Now remember earlier when I was cutting off the pieces, I said that the bottom of that metal would be recycled. What I'm doing here is cleaning up the bottom of the metal that's in here right now. Very fancy equipment here. It's an old plastic container with a stainless steel screen in it. Now what I'm doing here is, this is like just like the bottoms of that metal. Here's the button. That's where all the sprues were, and then the pieces would have been right there. And what I'm doing is I'm getting these totally shiny clean. And once they're totally shiny clean, these are very close. They have been previously worked on, and then I had to stop because I had other things that had to get done. Now the one thing you have to be careful of is you will get pieces of the polishing materials, which is stainless steel shot. This is stainless steel shot. It comes in different shapes and sizes. Could even turn on the light in here, that'd be scary. The lights in the ceiling here are controlled by multiple controllers, so there's one. There's the other one. And then I have specific controllers for test lighting. It works well. Anyway, this is what the stainless steel shot looks like. As you can see, I've been tumbling in here. Different shapes and sizes, and that allows it to get into lots of nooks and crannies on these pieces. This piece is clean enough now. That's distilled water that I just threw that in. And we have a bunch of pieces of media, stainless steel media in here, which need to come out before this gets put away into storage, because I don't want to ever accidentally throw this into a casting session. So if this won't come out, I'll just leave it for now. But there's 3 pieces, 2 more left. Sometimes these things get really jammed in there and you're like, how the heck did it get so jammed in there? I mean, they're just tumbling around. They're not like crammed in there with a piece of machinery or something. But what it's done is it's gotten into enough of the nooks and crannies, so that's clean enough. This is also clean enough. These are not from this casting session. These are from a previous casting session. But I want the majority of the junk off of these before they go into storage, and then they will be used later. Now, these are pieces that I cast this time. I am not thrilled with the way they turned out, but I did a tumble on them anyway because I'm going to look at them under a magnifying glass and decide if they're good enough to sell in the shop, which they might be. There are some things that can be less than perfect and still are totally saleable in the shop where a person is looking at them face to face, but I wouldn't sell them online because they have to meet a certain standard. Now, at this point, what I could do is I could take this and I could throw it into this container with the stainless steel shot and a polishing compound. The polishing compound consists of water and a surfactant. That just means like it's like a soap, a specialized soap. I'm using this burnishing compound, and you use like an ounce of this and a gallon of water. Goes in here. Let's make sure this, let's make believe this is new. It's not new, but see, it's got a little dirt in it, but it's okay. And then I will put it on here and let it tumble. Now when it comes out, it's going to be shiny. This is pewter, but it's going to be pretty close to the shiny. And that means it'll be all ready to go, which is pretty awesome. Then it's a matter of going through and checking, like I can tell on this pewter thimble ring that there is a little piece of flashing that needs to come off here, so I need to use a file to clear that out, because I want this to be completely smooth inside so that a person is comfortable when they go to use it to sew, because you use a thimble ring the same way you use a thimble. What I like better about a thimble ring than a thimble is it doesn't make my fingers sweat as much. You can wear them on whatever finger you prefer to wear them on. Most people wear thimbles on either the middle or the index finger. Some people prefer to wear it on other fingers. This one fits me on any of these three fingers to some extent. I don't wear a thimble very often. When I do, I usually use it on either my index or my middle finger. But this piece has got a rough spot in it, which over time would be uncomfortable when you're using it, so I need to fix that with a file. That gives you an idea of the process. These pieces that are clean enough are going to be put into storage over there to dry completely, and then they'll be put into back storage. And the next time I go to cast, I will use a combination of clean, reused metal and fresh metal. So let me show you what that looks like. Over to the casting department. This is the casting department over here. This is where I weigh out metal to be used for casting. It's also where I figure out how much metal different things use and all that other sort of stuff. And there are plenty of YouTube videos showing how you take a wax and you weigh it and you figure out how much metal it takes and all that stuff. This is still set up from yesterday when I was doing measuring of the metal before I set up to cast. So when I am going to set up to cast, I use a combination of brand new metal and recycled metal. So for instance, let's see, should have, yep, that's bronze. I have a box here with a bunch of pieces in it, and some of those are like the ones I just showed you that just came out of the tumbler, which is the base buttons where you can see the sprues. So this is a center sprue off another piece. This was probably casting buttons, is my guess. Yeah, it is. That's a button. So this would be the center piece of wax that would go out to all the buttons on the sides. See if I have one that failed that is more obvious. Oh, here, like this one shows, this actually didn't fail, but it shows the fact that this button had 3 sprues on it. I had to cut off the side sprues to make room to get it to work on this one, but it would have had a bunch of buttons out on the ends of these arms here, which are the sprues. Everybody has fails sometimes, and when you have a fail, let me see, I know I have some I have some thimble rings that failed. Here we go. Here's an excellent example. You can see the sprue that would have gone to something like this tree. And that just didn't cast all the way around. So it's a letter C instead of a thimble ring. And sometimes it'll be really obvious like that, and sometimes it'll be a little less obvious. This has got just one chunk out of it. And sometimes it'll be really less obvious. This one I actually destroyed on purpose so that I wouldn't think it was perfect. Sometimes I do that when I'm working on something. This one, for instance, is an excellent example. It looks like it's a thimble ring, but if I hold it up to the light, it actually had a couple of bubbles and dings in it that are just mean it's not good enough. So in a case like that, nope, it goes away and it gets recycled. So when it comes time to cast again, what I do is I have make up a number. I'll say, okay, I'm going to take 100 grams of waste metal, and I'm going to just weigh it here like this, and I'll just put metal on here until I get my 100 grams. This one's too big. Well, that one's a bit too big. Yeah, that weighs too much. Yeah, that's too much. I'm used to working with bigger numbers, so let's see. Yeah, that's still too big. Oh, he's calling. Hello. I can do that.